Have you ever wondered what the darknet is? I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, what is the darknet? Let's take a look together. All right, let's go. Let's see, darknet.com. Nope, that's not right. Let's see, darkweb.com. Okay, that's not right. You know what? Porn.com. Sounds right. This isn't. Oh, well, it is a darknet. You'll excuse me, I'll be here in a few minutes. That's not right. Let's Google how to get on the darknet. Okay, how do you get on the darknet? Huh, that's interesting. I didn't realize I couldn't just get there through a browser. I have to use a special type of browser. Fascinating. Did you know that? But before we get to how to get on the darknet, we should first figure out, should we get on the darknet? Is this illegal? Like, if we go on the darknet, are we gonna get arrested? Is the FBI gonna knock down our door? Let's find out. We'll chat about that coming up next. Hey everybody, Mike Weftinaya. Today we're gonna talk about, should you avoid the darknet? But before we go much further, we probably should define what it is. In addition, what's the difference between darknet, dark web, deep web, surface web? Those are all things we should chat about, so we will. All right, so let's dive in. Now, the first thing up is, what is the darknet? It's just part of the old internet. So that's not bad. The old internet, that sounds like fun. It's like, you know, the old internet, that's kind of colloquial. Okay, let's look at this a little bit further. It is part of the greater internet that encompasses all unindexed sites that don't pop up when you do an internet search. So that doesn't sound bad. It sounds kind of good. All right, let's go a little bit further. Mostly used for the exchange of illegal goods and services, the darknet's anonymity attracts criminals of all types. Okay, so that doesn't sound as good as it did initially. Attracts criminals of all types? That doesn't sound good. So that makes me wonder, like, should we even be there? Pause for a second. Side note, in this video, I'm gonna chat about a few pet peeves that I see in Hollywood movies when it comes to bad guys and hackers and everything. The first pet peeve, when bad guys are depicted and they're wearing dark suits, like, it's just kind of weird, right? Like, when you think about it, you're gonna like put on a dark suit. I mean, suits are kind of restrictive. Like, I don't think they would do that. That seems kind of random. All the bad guys I arrested, side note, none of them had dark suits on. Anyway, Hollywood somehow decided to put that in there. Okay, moving on from that. The next thing I want to talk about is define some terms for you. Now, I mentioned dark net. The phrase dark net is also synonymous with dark web. There's a subtle difference, but for our purposes, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna refer to it as dark net because it's a little more accurate to what I'm talking about. But there's other aspects to it. So I'm gonna talk about three other things. Surface web. So the surface web basically is the internet we use most of the time throughout the day. It's everything that's available without a username or password or credentials. So that brings us to the second part, deep web. Now, deep web sounds nefarious. It's like, that sounds like bad. It's really not. Deep web just encompasses all unindexed sites that don't pop up when you do an internet search. It could be bank accounts, personal email accounts, anything that requires credentials, user and password. Those are not available for Google to search because you need that in order to gain access to all that data. So that is the deep web. That's the vast majority of the internet. Some estimate up to 96%. So that's huge. And honestly, non-nefarious. The vast majority of it isn't bad. However, there's a subset in the deep web called the darknet. That's what we're talking about today. So the darknet is home where criminals are buying and selling goods and services that are illegal. Not all of it is illegal on the darknet transactions, but the vast majority of it is because of the anonymity these individuals are afforded. Let's talk about the marketplaces or the black markets that are available on the darknet. There are several markets where buyers and sellers facilitate illegal online transactions. These black markets are highly volatile. The majority of the darknet are comprised of these black markets. They're highly volatile for a few reasons. One, criminals are very unreliable. These servers sometimes are brought down because they stop paying bills, because they think law enforcement is onto them, because they get lazy, because they get distracted, because they're too high. Literally, a whole slew of reasons why they get brought down. But But if you're actually on a darknet marketplace, many of them are very refined. They have a rating system. Buyers and sellers are rated much like you would find on Amazon. That's what the darknet is. All right, another tangent. Pet peeve number 2. This is kind of related to movies, kind of not. But when dudes wear dark suits, like black suits with a brown belt, I mean, come on, people. If you're gonna wear a black suit, you gotta wear a black belt. Like, it's like black suit 101. All right, so that was my pet peeve number 2. One of the things you might be asking yourself when it comes to black markets is, well, Michael, how do people buy and sell things? Do they just like take cash out? Do they write checks? Imagine they write checks. That'd be awesome for law enforcement. Write this check. Who can I make this out to? And that's not how it works. Because of that element of law enforcement and because they want anonymity, they use something called virtual currency. There's a whole slew of virtual currencies. It's also called cryptocurrency. All right, let's dive into what virtual currency is. Virtual currency is nearly impossible to counterfeit or double spend. Many virtual currencies are decentralized networks based on blockchain technology. They generally are not issued by any central authority. That's what virtual currency is. So let me break that down. One of the key components virtual currency affords its users is a high amount of anonymity, meaning people don't know who you are. Now you might be like, well, hold on, Michael. This is about blockchain. Isn't blockchain a general ledger? Exactly. So doesn't the blockchain list everything that someone bought and sold? Well, it's true. However, because of the anonymity, it doesn't list your name. It doesn't say like Michael F. D'Anaya sent X amount of money to this person. It doesn't do that. It lists a very long transaction number. That transaction number, if you look at it, you wouldn't have any idea who it belongs to. In theory though, it's all enumerated in this blockchain so that it's helping to ensure that all transactions are accounted for and they're on public display, kind of. The other element I talk about is that it's not issued by a central authority generally. There's some changes right now. There's some companies out there that are trying to create a central authority. The vast majority of virtual currencies used today are not actually centralized. There's a whole slew of them. You have Monero, you have Ethereum, you have like a bunch of like random ones that are just kind of stupid, candidly. So that's all I'll chat about actual virtual currencies. That's a whole separate video. Just know that because of everything associated with virtual currencies, they're very difficult to trace. Hence why it's a currency of choice on black markets or the darknet for all transactions. Okay, let's talk about, well, Michael, how do you get onto the darknet? I mean, before you were trying to use a Google search and that didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. You have to have a browser that's specifically configured to take you on the darknet. So I want to chat about the Tor Project. So what is the Tor Project? Well, the Tor Project is a group of volunteer-operated servers run by people operating under the common belief internet users should have private access to an uncensored web. So that's the Tor Project. So in other words, what does that mean? Well, it was something started by the US government, believe it or not. It was started by the US Navy. They originally started it because they wanted to exchange information in the internet in a private setting that couldn't be intercepted. They continue to pay into the development of the Tor Project along with other series of companies and others. Now, the Navy and anyone who uses the darknet is afforded a tremendous amount of anonymity. Everyone, including criminals, are afforded that same anonymity. All right, as I mentioned criminals, let's talk about pet peeve number 3 in movies. When criminals are wearing sunglasses, it's like, and they're indoors, like indoors. I'm like, what? Indoors? Who is facilitating a criminal transaction with sunglasses indoors? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, your vision is now impaired. Most of the time they're dimly lit rooms. I don't know, it's just weird. Okay, those are my 3 pet peeves. All right, back to the Tor Project. I mentioned there's a large amount of anonymity. So how does that work? So I'm gonna break it down for you. Let's look a little bit deeper into the Tor Project. The Tor Project is comprised of a series of Tor relays. Now, these are components in the Tor network that have encrypted communications that go in and out of them. So the way this works is you're an outside user and you tunnel into the Tor network. When you tunnel in, your first hop is into a Tor relay. That's not your end designation. It now tunnels you into another relay and passes you to another relay. Eventually you get to your designation you're trying to go to. Each element, each node in the Tor network is all encrypted. All that communication, again, encrypted. Virtually impossible to break. Okay, so in order to actually access the darknet, you have to download a browser. And there's a number of browsers out there. The Tor Project has a browser called the Tor browser. You would simply download that browser, very easy to configure. And now with that browser, you can access the darknet. All right, that leads us to the final thing I'll chat about today. Is it illegal to use? Yeah, highly illegal. And if you use it, law enforcement will break down your door. Just kidding. No, not illegal to use. You can download Tor browser right this moment and you will not go to jail. It is not illegal to use a Tor browser. It is not illegal to be on the darknet. Candidly, there's a number of legitimate reasons why people would be on the darknet. Some top of my head are, one, if you're a media outlet and you want to basically develop a secure way to share information with people who want to share sensitive stuff with you. That's how they do it. Another element that people use the darknet are when they're in oppressive countries that are outside the US and they can't share information because they don't have our civil liberties and our freedoms, but they want to share information that's protected. They'll use a darknet. So there's just two ways. So they're not all illicit. However, the vast majority of people on the darknet in the US are doing it for illegal purposes because of that anonymity they're afforded. So again, it's not illegal to use the darknet. It is, though, illegal to do illicit activities on the darknet, but it's not illegal. So feel free to use it, check it out. Candidly, because of the way the darknet was structured, it's not scalable. It's really not built so the large percentage of the population would ever use it. It's quite cumbersome. It's far easier to just use the surface web and other elements of the deep web. There's no real reason why a lot of people would be using the darknet. It wasn't built for that. Hence why it's not going to really ever in the future be used for that purpose. Now, who knows? Maybe in the far distant future, there's a need for it. But at present, there really isn't for that type of scale. So should you use the darknet? Probably not. It's quite cumbersome, and I just don't really think it's really advantageous for the vast majority of people to use it. But again, could you use it? Of course. It's not illegal to use. All right, that's it from me. I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Did you learn something? Are you a criminal? Are you going to use the darknet? If you are, I mean, you can just, if you feel free to share information down below. It's not like I'm a former FBI agent. It's not like I would turn you over to law enforcement or anything. Feel free to share comments about this video. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon wherever it is. I think it's here on mobile and it's here, I think. It's here. No, it's here. Here in the desktop, here in mobile, but who knows? It's somewhere. That reminds you when I create content like this, and hit the like button if you like this video. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I'll chat with you next time. Bye.